Welcome, beautiful creatures, to the Lightness of Being podcast, where we celebrate the dance of life and explore ways to find joy, laughter, and lightness, even when faced with challenges. Join me, your host, Monika Stefanik, as we step into the light and discover a realm of potential and possibilities for greater ease in our lives. Let's laugh, learn, and grow together. Welcome, beautiful creatures, to a very special episode of this Lightness of Being podcast. I get to gaze into the eyes of one of my dear friends, Gabrielle, Gab for short, as we share a microphone since we had some technical juiciness going on. So now we just get to gaze and chat, and I love this. This mystical, magical medicine woman has been such a gift to me over these last 2 years.
I think it's
maybe
like a little over a year.
A little over a year.
Isn't that
oh my
insane?
God, that's wild.
I feel like I've known you for lifetimes.
Yeah.
Oh, I have known you for lifetimes.
Yes,
There's no doubt, actually. So.
Yes. Such a gift in my life, and I feel so honored and grateful to have you on here and to have you as my first guest. Synchronistically, it worked out this way. The plan was a little bit different, and that's okay because Spirit always guides and leads and has us land exactly where we're meant to be. So
Absolutely.
here we are.
It's all coming from the heart, too. None of this is planned. We're just speaking from the heart, speaking our truth, speaking so authentically and spontaneously. And I find so much beauty in that, so much value, you know, more so than just like us sitting down and planning, like, what are we going to talk about? What is the topic? Like, how do we want people to perceive this? It's like, no, this is us. Like, this is the true essence of us. So yeah. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. We are sipping on really incredible cacao that I got from the jungle in Costa Rica almost a year ago, actually.
Wow, that's crazy too.
Yeah, that's, yep,
Wait.
synchronicities. Because Envision was like January to February. It was like end of January, I think. Or no, end of February. Anyway, it's been almost a year. Yeah, I know.
Wow, time is so weird.
Time is so weird. So we are sipping on very medicinal cacao from the elders of the jungle of Costa Rica and just getting love drunk
Yeah.
on this magical cacao. Gab.
Yeah.
Before we get into what we were going to talk about today, can you share with everyone something that you're celebrating right now for you in your life?
Ooh. I have a deep sense of gratitude in my being right now. Not for any particular thing. It's for the culmination of blessings in my life, for the people that I have around me, the opportunities and the ways that I'm provided for. It's a miracle, actually, considering everything that's happened that's brought me here. I've been so supported by Spirit and by my friends, my loved ones, and I just carry that with me everywhere I go. And so I'm celebrating that, if you can understand that language. And then on a more like external front, yeah, I'm going to school. I'm starting to pursue some new career things and starting to step into some uncharted territory. Not exactly sure what that looks like yet, but just speaking out into existence that I'm doing something new and going after something that feels good to me. So kind of vague, but you know.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank
You're going
you.
to be so incredibly amazing at what you do because you're already amazing as you are and as you be. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I feel so, that's the thing, is I feel so good about just where I'm at right now. Like, I'm a nanny right now, which is like, you know, maybe not my highest like calling in life, but it's kind of my in between, and I'm actually really enjoying it and feeling so fulfilled by it. So I don't feel any rush, but I do feel the transition happening, and I'm putting a lot of energy into the transition. So yeah, the transition is what you may never know. No, you definitely will know at some point. So yeah,
We don't always know in that transitionary space, but
yeah.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Speaking of transitions, what are we going to talk about today?
Ooh. So, since this is such an impromptu conversation, we had such little time to think about what's present, and I was just taking a shower in Monica's bathroom. I was like, what should we talk
In
about?
magical Kangen water, by the way, just a Kangen water in
It was
Espa. It's
lovely.
amazing. It's magical.
It's, oh my god, her shower is one of my favorite things on the planet. Anyway.
It's the only reason we're friends. It's the only reason she's here. It's fine.
Literally. Don't tell anyone. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so yeah, I'm standing in the shower. I'm like, what's something that we can offer the world? And something that came through to me was initiations. And the reason why is because that is what brought Monica and I together, was going through initiations. And we've gone through a lot of similar initiations in life in general. And there's a deep soul understanding between us because of that. And we've witnessed each other go through initiations too. That's how we've gotten to know each other, actually, which is incredibly rich and, I mean, authentic. You know, I've seen you through all of the stages, and you've seen me through all the stages. And so yeah, it's what's brought us together, and it's what we've held each other through in this short amount of time that we've been friends, which has felt like eternity. But yeah, I feel like we have a lot of deliciousness to offer around this topic, because yeah, I've witnessed you go through initiation so gracefully, and you have a lot to offer people with your stories and your insight.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we've definitely, the path that brought us together is wild, and I'm so grateful for it. Like, it was really intense, and there was a lot of pain, and it brought us together. And so that whole unwinding of universal karmic plan, whatever that was, it was like, well, it was for this, so here you go, you're welcome. I'm like, thank you, yes, thank you, we are blessed. And also maybe a little bit with more ease next time, right? And a little bit more gentleness. Yeah.
In the next lifetime, maybe we'll be just two like fairies just like frolicking in the forest, and we just come by each other, and I don't know, just like, hey, you want to go dip in the water? And I don't know, just like a lighter, more ideal situation.
Oh, I'm gonna call that in, absolutely. I'm like, even the work that we've done up until this point, I'm like, you best believe I'm gonna reincarnate as a fairy, like a fairy or a mermaid or something. I mean, this embodiment is magical in its own way, and also I could be a little magical fairy creature in the woods, just frolicking around eating mushrooms. Like, that would be delightful. Thank you.
Calling that in.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, initiations. That's a big. There is so much that we could unpack underneath that. In this moment, I guess I'll speak really quickly to what I'm going through in this moment, right? As of just, a day or so ago, feeling right now in my body, what I feel is this, as I was expressing earlier, there is a deep pit in my solar plexus area of my body. And it's due to some very immense grief and romantic relationship transition that I am in the depths of going through right now. And it's been very, very challenging and also very eye-opening as I witness myself go through this initiation, because the way that I am now with it is so different to how I was in the past. And it's just a testament to how I'm showing up for myself within this transitionary space. It's a testament to the work that I've done along the path, because now, even in this, even though I'm feeling grief and pain and I ugly cry, and you were on the phone with me the other night as that was happening, and I'm just like in the stages of grief of bargaining and anger and just, just disbelief. And yeah, there's so much in that, but then witnessing myself show up for myself through that by reaching out and asking for help and actually taking care of myself, like not just going to be like a troll in the bed for days and like letting my life pass me by, but actually continuing to show up for it. And that looks like the basic things of like taking a shower and brushing my teeth and making sure that even though it's really difficult to eat, I'm still putting some kind of nourishment in my body, even if it's just a little bit, and going out and living my life and still actively doing things, but also giving the emotions the breath and the space that they require to come up and through, and not stuffing them down by smoking weed or watching Netflix or any of the things that I've done in the past, or like hyper doing in work mode and just trying to shove it away, because it's like when we do that, it's just going to come up and through later. And like I'm in this space of like, let's fucking go. Like we are alchemists, we are alchemizing, we are powerful ass medicine women, and I'm like, we are fucking here for it. And it's just, and then getting to witness myself move through that is so incredibly beautiful when I'm feeling better like I am right now. But when I have the moments of like wailing in the car on my way down from snowboarding on the mountain, like that's a very different space, but it's also a part of the process. And
absolutely.
It's been such a beautiful unfolding to witness over the years of where I have been to where I am now with how I deal with these hardships that we go through.
Yeah, I just want to speak on the fact that I've only been present in your life for so long, like we had said. So I haven't seen what that journey has looked like for you, specifically getting to where you are now with how you handle your initiations. But that I know what you've told me, and I know it must have looked like so much deep introspection and prayer and sitting with yourself, and not only that, but just going through it, having to go through. That's the thing about initiations. When you go through them, you learn and you get better at them, and you are a master. I was gonna drop the F-bomb and I stopped myself.
It might be okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know how that works either. But handling these things in life, and I can see that there's so much expertise you have in being able to hold yourself through the human experience. And my hope and wish for you, and I believe it's already there, is that you trust yourself so much moving forward with witnessing how you're operating through these challenges and seeing how well you're moving through them, and that whatever else happens in life, whatever happens next, which it does, that's the thing about life, is it's, made up of initiations, that you're gonna keep knowing how to hold yourself better and better and better. And so yeah, I'm incredibly proud to witness the way that you operate, and there's so much I could speak on in that sense, but
Thank you for saying that. I was spending time with another really beautiful woman in community last night, and there's a mantra she gave me when you said the I trust myself. Her mantra after many of her deep initiations that she underwent was, I trust myself implicitly. I trust myself implicitly. And this morning, actually, when I woke up and went to my altar and into meditation, early before the sun came up, I grabbed my mala, and I have a regular mantra that I usually say when I'm having trouble just sitting and just being and meditating. But this time I went through the mala more than 108 times. I got to the end and I would go back and do the same thing, but the whole time the mantra was, I trust myself implicitly.
That was today?
That was today. That was this morning.
Wow, that's amazing.
After doing some full moon magic with her last night and burning things in the fire. Yeah, this podcast should launch in about a week, but we just went through the big first full moon of Gregorian 2025, and it was a big Cancer full moon, and it was nar for me, but yeah. How was that for you? Yeah, tell me a little bit about it. We haven't really talked much, so tell me.
I'm having to revisit so much of what I thought was working. Like I said, I feel so grateful and like things are just working so well, but then it exposed to me like, nope, there's certain things that aren't working, and you have to look at it. You have to acknowledge it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. I want to sit in that appreciation for the perfection and beauty of life, but also the perfection is in the fact that it's not always perfect. And so yeah, it's been a very it's been exposure to duality, and in that I've been sitting with the duality so much that I've come to find that there is no duality. And that has been incredibly awakening for me. I feel like I've stepped into a new like tier of my spiritual progression where I'm looking at duality through the eyes of this is all happening at once. It's all perfect in the way that the dark and the light are interacting with each other, and it's all okay. Every bit of it. It's not even just okay. Every bit of it is exactly how it's supposed to be. So, yeah, it's been spiritually enriching, emotionally challenging, and physically challenging as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that space of just like, it comes back to that whole thing with like, we are one. Everything just is, and the only thing that we have like is this present moment, and recognizing that it's like it's all perfect and it's all beautiful just as it is, and like it all has to coexist in order for us to have this experience that we do as being human on this planet, as being immaculate, incredible, expansive souls having a human experience. And these initiations are a huge part of our soul's evolution on this planet. Absolutely. Yeah.
Can I also share a perspective that just came to mind?
Please.
So this is something that I learned from my guru, and is like something that I think of frequently as far as our incarnations, like why we're going through these challenges in life, and why there is technically like duality. There isn't, but there kind of is through our human lenses. It's because it pulls us back closer to spirit. You realize, oh, this duality that I'm living in, or that I'm perceiving, it's not ideal, and it's not necessarily, I can't settle with it. I want more. And so it makes you want spirit. It makes you want higher. It makes you want better. And that's why these initiations happen, is so that we feel inclined to strive closer to God, to spirit, to universe, whatever you want to call it. And I have come to find that through all of my initiations that I have come closer to spirit, and it has enriched my spiritual path. So I'm wondering if that's coming through for you, or how that has come through for you.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I love that perspective, because that, through all of the hardship and challenge and big initiations over the years, like the one thing that I found my way back to is a sense of prayer and presence. And that has had many different forms over the years. you know, growing up someone who was deep in religion and pushed that away for a long time, like praying, quote unquote, I was just like, no, like I'm not going to do that. Like that, it was really triggering, and it was a lot, and I could not enter that space. And so what it first started out to look like for me was yoga. When I first went to, even just started doing yoga in college, but then actually getting to learn what that was by going to live at the ashram in California and doing my yoga teacher training. So it's like, and during that time, that's, you know, I was still deep in my depression and all of this stuff. So even when I came home from that, like having this practice to come back to, and even though it wasn't praying, I guess, as we consciously know, praying to be, it was prayer in its own way, and it was a connection to myself and to my body, which is the divine, which is God. And so I just started to deepen the connection in that way. And from that period of time, which was 2018, a few years ago, six or 7 years ago, I don't even know now what's happening with time. I have no idea.
Time? What is that?
It's crazy. But it has had such a beautiful evolution for me over the years, as going from like more physical and body oriented, and then it's gotten to evolve into this space where like I pray all the time, and I do my very best to be very intentional with my movements and with my words, and even when I'm sitting at my altar. And I told you earlier how I pray with my dog before every single one of his meals before I give it to him, and that's such a beautiful space to drop in. He gives me his paw. It's very cute.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But you know, like, you have been such a huge inspiration for me in that way of what intentional dropping in and prayer gets to look like. And you know, through some of the hape ceremonies that we've done, and just like, it's been an honor to witness you be that channel and like bring that through and just be you. And like, no matter what space you're in, whether we're outside at a weird festival thing or over at temple space or here, it's like constantly bringing people back into that, like, hey, let's actually drop in. Like, we're not just going to do this thing, like, we're actually going to drop into this space and give thanks and honor this medicine and honor like what we're cultivating here right now, and actually bring some intention into that. And like, there is no one person in my life that has done that consistently or like as intentionally and really as you have. And it's been such like, you are a teacher to me.
You're my teacher as well.
And I love you,
I love you
so
too.
much. And so I'm also curious, like, what prayer has looked like for you over the years, and where that has come from, because you had a very big initiation a few years ago, and I'm just so grateful that you're here and sitting in front of me. And yeah, share a little bit about that.
Uh-oh. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this concise as I can. I was told by my writing teacher that I am a wordsmith, but that I don't know how to be concise. So, constantly learning that. So I do come from a Christian background. I won't go too much into that. I always felt a very deep connection to God and to Spirit and to Jesus Christ, actually, as well. And through some very pivotal initiations in my life, I'll just name one example. When I was 13 years old, my mom passed away. And at the time, my dad was in prison. And I tell this time of my life to paint a picture of how destitute it felt. I was, you know, a new teenager, and I felt alone in the world. I felt like I had no one I could rely on or talk to, but I had prayer. And prayer was what got me through it, and prayer was what got me out of it as well. I'm 1000% confident that that's what it was. It was Spirit right by my side through every initiation in life, through every challenge I've been through. So anyway, when I was 16, I started entering into the New Age realm, shifting away from Christianity, feeling like it was a little limiting to the spiritual experience that we're having. And I learned a lot. I learned so much about my skills to be able to contact spirit within myself, and learned about the universe, and just looking through bigger lenses than I ever had or thought was possible. So, all that to say that 2 years ago, I had a really big initiation that we can go into more if we so choose, but I'll just speak concisely as I'd intended and say that I almost died, and I had a very spiritual experience through all of that, in which I got to know God closer than I ever had. And as I said, I've always had a pretty tight relationship with Him. And by God, that's interchangeable as well. It's, perfect intelligence, nature's intelligence. There's so many different words you can use, but that's what I'm referring to when I say God. But I remember when I was in the hospital and I'd almost died, that I'd asked to talk to the, what do they call that? Not the,
Like a chaplain?
yeah, the
or someone.
chaplain.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like they always have someone.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I want to talk to the chaplain. And of course, I had surpassed like the confinements of Christianity. So I wasn't like, I think I want to start going to church again.
You just wanted to talk to someone that was closer to the divine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine someone who does that in the hospital and is around so many people who are transitioning, and who lives their life through so much prayer and spiritual support of others going through that like he must be connected to spirit, like there must be something there. And so anyway, he did come in and we talked, and the first thing he asked was just kind of like, what do you want to talk about? And I just said, I just feel so grateful to be alive, and I don't know how to express my gratitude to God. Like, how do I do that? It was just almost too much gratitude to hold. And he just looked at me and he said, well, what did you do before everything happened? What was your method of contacting God? And my answer was meditation. And so at the forefront of my practice in prayer is a really rich and devoted and powerful meditation practice that I show up for twice a day. And that allows me to drop in more with God in those little simple moments throughout the day when we're just kind of like, hanging out or whatever. I feel like God is really, really nearby because I had created that awareness in the morning previous or in the night previous. So yeah, the forefront is meditation.
Yeah. It's really that space of like, even when we quote unquote feel alone, we're just like not alone. And that getting to be in that space and connect to our innate divine nature and connect with, God, the divine source, great spirit, whatever you want to call it, is, it helps those deep spaces of loneliness or despair or whatever the feeling and the emotion is, just feel supported, feel more supported by the Great Mother, by Earth, and to come back to that space and be with it where I am now after having a challenging relationship with Christianity growing up. And I pushed it away so hard. It was so redonkulous. And I just feel so grateful to have also found my way back, but it's really through those deep, deep initiation points of like, I'm either going to choose to leave this planet of my own volition, or I'm going to find a way to deepen into this experience with the support of Source, of the divine. And at the time I did not know that that's what that was, but like I just knew that there was something greater, something beyond myself, something bigger to live for. And the journey of that unfolding has been beautiful and challenging, and but to be here right now and in this present moment with you and talking about it, I'm like, it was all like, this life is just so immaculate. It's so immaculate and it's so precious, and we're so lucky. We're so lucky.
We're so blessed. Yeah, I feel like I guess I want to take a minute to suggest that whoever's listening to this to really sit with that for a minute. That everything you've gone through in your life, whatever initiations you've experienced, your entire karmic path, all the things that you've overcome, all those extremely hard moments that you got through, that you pulled yourself out of, that you moved through, they've led you up to this very moment, to where you are right now, which is, whatever you're doing, you gotta be at least comfortable enough to be listening to a podcast. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'd say you're doing pretty good. Not invalidating whatever else is true for you, but
if you're here and you're listening to this and you're going through something major, like, you are, let me just assure you that you are on your way through, and you're so supported, and you are on a higher vibrational path than wherever you were previously, because you're looking for support in ways that are not like externalizing, right? Reaching, grabbing, finding the, whether it's like TV or food or alcohol or drugs, or it doesn't even have to be that extreme, but like, we do externalize our comfort a lot, especially when we're going through those big moments. And that's been a lot of my journey, right? So like, when I share that, like, me being able to self-resource in these much more healthy ways, like, I'm just so incredibly proud of myself, because I know what it's like to be in that space of like, I'm just going to numb it out, or I'm just going to eat, or I'm just going to like constantly move, and then like, and not slow down enough to actually be here and be really present with what's coming up and through. And then by sitting in that and letting those emotions and those feelings and that stuff come up and through, it's like, after giving it that space, then we come out the other side, and we feel better and we feel brighter, because we had the ugly cry, or we went and screamed in the forest, or whatever it was. But like, if we're stuffing it down, it's repression, depression, right? And so like, at some point in time, it's going to come up and through, and probably not in a very healthy way, and usually either as a detriment to ourselves or as a detriment to another, which is also a detriment to ourselves. So it's so radically important that we find ways to show up for ourselves and reach out for support when we do need it, and know that like, we're not alone in it, whether that looks like prayer, whether that looks like reaching out to family or friends, but just being like, hey, like, I don't even really know what I need right now, but I'm having a really difficult time and I just need some help. And even just that little bit, like, I feel like we're also taught, it's like, if you don't know what you need, then it's like, then you can't reach out or whatever. It's like, you have to know, and sometimes you do know, and that's great when you do know, but like, there's a lot of times, especially over the last year, like, my dad died this year, which was huge, and I remember sending out a message when I was flying back from Michigan and back to Oregon, and I just sent a message out to my birthday group, and I was like, this is what's going on. I don't feel supported by my family. Like, I need something. And the immense support that showed up, and like, the synchronicity that happened within that space was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Just like, so divinely led by spirit.
It is incredibly inspiring how good you are at asking for support. It takes so much strength to reach out to people and say, hey, I'm going through something. I need your help. That is incredibly, it requires humility is what it does. It requires humility to admit that you need others. Yeah. You can't do it alone. and you have others. That's the thing too, is we're not only divinely supported, but through that divine support, there's people who are going to love you and be there for you and offer so much of whatever it is that you need. And you know that so deeply that you trust it. You trust to reach out for it. And every time you do that, every time you reach out to me, you call me to talk, or to just share your emotional experience, or, you reach out to your friends in the group chat or whatever, it inspires me. I get this, like, this thing lights up in my brain where I'm like, this is available. This is something that I can do. It gives me permission to do that. And I wish that as humans, as a human collective, that we created more permission for that we all felt comfortable doing that. And the only way we can feel comfortable doing that is by doing that.
Yeah, it's practice. It takes practice just like anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason that I'm in that space that I'm at now is because I was on the total opposite spectrum of it, of like, I remember there's like one moment I remember specifically when I was still with my previous partner, and I was upstairs in the loft area on my yoga mat. It's like middle of the night, who knows what time, and I'm just going through it, and it's like, I'm like, is this my life? Like, is this what my life is going to be like? And feeling so alone, even though I had my dog and like my partner, like just feet away, and yet still feeling like I couldn't reach out and ask for help, and like just being in so much despair about being alone. So it's like only from being there and then dissolving that, and then reaching a space where it's like feeling alone in a different way, but then cultivating community. And from that space, like, feeling, just being like, I literally can't do this thing, whether it's like lifting a dresser or like dealing with some the emotional stuff is harder, honestly, to reach out for help for. But like, if I need like a ride to the airport or something, that's a little bit easier to ask for. So it's also like there's little ways to like wean yourself into it, but it also it takes practice. It really does. And like, thank you so much for that reflection, because like that means so much to me, because I never even thought that I would be here doing that. Like, no matter what I'm going through, just being like, it's okay to ask for help, Monika. Like, you are worthy and deserving of getting the help that you need, and not from a space of like manipulation or any of those lower vibrational like frequency spaces, but from an actually like, hey, I'm human and I'm fucking going through some shit right now, and like, could you go to the grocery store and get me a lemon? Or like or could you get on the phone and just hold some space for me while I just process through whatever I'm moving through? Like, it takes a lot. It takes courage.
It does. Yeah, and I'm curious. I want to ask you how that has felt for you to be so supported, and to have that be so well received.
Every time I have doubted myself, even after I've reached out, and the support that has come through is more than anything my imagination could ever dream up. And it's in those moments of really seeing how people who you didn't even know would come through for you, come through. And so it's just that, like, witnessing and actually getting to live in that space of seeing how the support shows up, and how it's just like exactly perfectly what you need. And it like strengthens that muscle in a totally different way. There's that act of like you doing the thing, but then there's the act of the universe showing up through, and God showing up through these creatures or through whatever form, and being like, hey, I got your back. Like, the universe has your back. It does in every single moment. And that is like one thing that I've gained from Access Consciousness, is like the universe does have our back, but like we also have to have our own back. And like, if we're not showing the universe that like we are worthy of that or whatever, it's like it can't show us how much it has us and holds us and supports us. And so it's been such a beautiful process. And like, I obviously still have moments where I do feel very alone, and moments where I feel unsupported and things, but it's like, it's gotten so much easier to be in that space, especially even right now, because of those experiences that I've had. So it's like, even when that thought pops in, I'm like, no, you have amazing. I actually think I have a lot of sticky notes on my mirror in that bathroom, but one of them is,
awesome.
I am, thank you. I say them every morning as I'm brushing my teeth. But one of them is something along the lines of, I have soul family that loves and supports me. And so that's actually even a great tool, like putting stuff on your walls or on your mirror that just iterate what is true in this life, or what you're trying to cultivate and ask for, because like that's alchemy, that's magic, by demanding or asking of the universe, but also demanding of yourself that you show up for what you're trying to cultivate. Because like, we can ask for things all day, but if we're laying in bed watching Netflix and smoking weed, there's not going to be much that like we have to take some action, like for sure we have to show up. And that's the difficult, that can be the very difficult piece of like, when you're, whatever the emotions are that you're feeling, whether it's grief or despair or anything that you're going through, anger, it's like, but to still show up in love for yourself. And to just, show yourself that you have your back, even if it's the littlest thing of, I remember when I was going through my first breakup, and the one of 8.5 years, which just like destroyed me. And it was little things like making my bed or eating food, you know, like,
yeah, that requires so much strength. Just doing those little small things for yourself.
It's like that whole thing of just like, it's in the little moments, whether it's like how we cultivate really good connections with people on this planet. Like, it's in the little things, the little ways that people show up. It's also in the little things that we're doing every single day to be able to show up for ourselves, that cultivates that deeper connection with ourselves, the deeper connection with the divine, with spirit, with the universe, so that we can receive the support that is always present.
That is, and that is the key, is having that heart open, willing to receive. And that's so much easier. It's so much easier said than done. It's like, okay, like, have your heart open to receive. It's like, okay, so what about all those times that things have gone wrong, or that people have hurt me, or those traumas that I went through, and through those things, actually coming out of them, this is the topic of initiations, that is when you learn, I am supported, I can make it through, and it's because I have people around me, it's because I have support from the divine. I do want to speak on what I had mentioned earlier, that initiation that I had been through. So I was definitely in the zone of like, I got this myself. I don't want anyone's help. I don't even think anyone cares. Like, that's where my mind was at for a really long time. And that's still like constantly unwinding that. Like, it takes work for me to ask for help still. It's like not, it's not a very like automatic response. Let's just say that. But what happened was, I got in a car accident. I was in the hospital for 14 days, and I lost everything. I wasn't able to drive or work, or live alone. And so, as you can imagine, I had to rely on so many people in order just to survive and to get through that. Financially, emotionally, mentally, but also like physically. It was something I had never thought was possible in the way that people showed up for me. When I saw the people that donated to my cause, I saw people that I hadn't even like thought of in years, and like could never have imagined they even remembered me. And it was incredibly touching, just realizing like that's not just like $10, $20, $1,000, whatever donation they made. That is that they care about my life, that my life has value, and they're willing to put something forward of theirs, their time, their money, in order to sustain me so that I can be alive and I can be well. And that was incredibly touching. It was so meaningful how I got such a glimpse into the goodness of humanity, and how we ultimately all just want to love, and we want to be loved. We want to be there for each other, and we want to receive support as well. And sometimes we need to receive support. And so, yeah, in these like physical therapy classes where they're like having to teach me how to do like these basic movements again, and in having to live with my grandparents and ask people for rides everywhere I went, I learned that we need each other. And that's one of the most important things about these initiations, is that they are for our soul's growth and unfolding, but that ultimately they're not just about your karmic path. They're also about the other people who are present during your initiation. It has to do with their karmic paths as well. It's all a collective intertwining, and that's really beautiful to me. And in someone helping you, like when you think about it, it's like in someone helping you, that's affecting their karmic path as well. And that's like them being able to realize like, oh, I can ask for help, or, oh, I'm so glad I got to help that person, or whatever. So yeah, it's just a really beautiful thing. I have this like picture in my mind of how all of our karmic paths just intertwine with each other, and how, yeah, initiations aren't just about us. They're about the collective.
I got chills as you were saying that. I have never thought about it that way. Yeah, and what came to mind was that path that we tread together. Like when you texted me out of the blue, you did not know me, I did not know you, but it was from that space of help, basically, in a certain form. And I could have very easily just like kind of shoved it away, been like, I don't want to deal with this.
You would have had every reason to. Like, if I explain detail to you, like, I was surprised that she responded to my message, let alone supported me in the way that she did. It was all
like
I could have asked for,
to
and
true
so
sisterhood.
much more. Seriously.
Without even knowing.
Yes.
Yeah. There was like an energy that was there, and and it wasn't even like a question in my mind. I was like, I have to be here for this. And in that one little choice alone, like that moment right then and there, that message I could have ignored. I could have responded in a totally different way. Like that alone changed the entire trajectory of my life, but also like brought our connection together, and you started that, which is great, by reaching out, which is like, that may be a topic for a different podcast. I don't even know how you got to that point of reaching out at that point in time, because like I mean, that's kind of I feel like that was a desperation point, probably.
That was an intuition is what it was too. It was, I mean, resourcefulness, if you want to call it that, but it was being in such a desperate place, as you said, desperation, that I had to lean into like my intuition and be like, what can I do? Because my logical mind does not know how to make sense of any of this, or know how to move forward. And that's actually, I guess, a good point to make too for initiations, is sometimes your logical mind is not going to know what to do or how to get through to it. And you have to surrender to your intuition and surrender to spirit and listen deeply. What is the next thing I can do to get through this as gracefully as possible and also as effectively as possible. And yeah, that transmission came through, was reach out to her.
Mm-hmm.
And what a gift that was. Yeah. Just that pure awareness alone, that
mm-hmm.
realization.
It's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that piece of just like surrendering and really asking. I mean, it leads back to prayer and all of it, but I spoke about this on the last episode when I was talking about how ill I was and just getting to this point of like, yeah, our logical brain, like it just can't, like it fools us so often. Like honestly, like most of the time, just take this and be like, I'm gonna set you over here, little brain, you just be on the table over there, and I'm just gonna like tap into my heart. I'm gonna ask for some guidance with this, and truly, like that is where we're meant to be led all the time. I was gonna say most of the time. It's not even most of the time, it's all the time.
All the time.
And that was another conversation that Lindsay was sharing with me last night, was just like through her initiation, she's at this point in her life where she's like, if spirit doesn't tell me to go, it's a no, right? It comes back to that thing. It's either like, we're going to use the effort. It's a fuck yes or a fuck no. Like if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. And spirit is the one that gets to lead us, and we get to listen and receive. But that piece of receiving is totally going to be another podcast, because that's a whole nother situation. But like actually leaning into what receiving is and coming to the awareness of all of the spaces in our world where we're taught not to receive, we're taught that that's not okay, and like all the iterations of that. It's but it's coming into that space of presence and prayer and listening and surrender and receiving that we hear the guidance and try to not override it with our brain parts that want to do something different. I mean, like I fall guilty to that all the time. All the time. Most of the time my intuition's like this, and I'm like, yeah, but like maybe not.
Yeah.
And then I don't follow the intuition and I get in trouble.
That's the thing, is like we can be such like rebels to like spirit, like what spirit wants from us and what spirit is telling us. And the thing is, it doesn't make spirit upset at all. Spirit's like, okay, cool, like you do you, but we're the ones that face the consequences of that.
Yeah.
Like, so we're having to learn again and again that we need to listen to spirit. And the spirit is always right. And we're, as tiny individuals, our egos, we're usually not right.
No. And we're just gonna keep reliving the same thing over and over again, whether it's like the same pattern in relationships, or like you're just gonna keep learning the same lesson, or like getting taught the same lesson until you really start to listen. And that's the space that I'm in right now, is I'm like, I have not been listening to my friends, to spirit, like, and just because of, and there's so many different reasons for that, which we've talked about when it comes to relationship, especially just like attachment and the trauma that we've been through as children, let alone the stuff that we've taken on from generations and parents, and the content that we're fed when we're children, and just there's so much programming that's there. And it's when that stuff is so deeply rooted, like it's like deeply rooted in our DNA, when we start getting into gene keys and stuff like that, it's like, so finding a way through that shadowy aspect into the gift is really messy. It's really messy, which is why these are called initiations, right? And it's also like, well, can you approach that with some grace, and can you see the lesson? And at the end of the day, it's like, you can victimhood mind it all you want, you can blame and shame and anything externally, anyone externally, but like, you are the one making the choice. And like, when we really come into awareness of that, it's like, oh shit. It's like, right now you can make that same choice, and you are totally, like you said, you're totally welcome to do that. Spirit's like, okay, you do that. I'm not mad at you. You do you, boo. But like, I don't know if you're going to like what's going to come out on the other side of that situation.
I want to say really quick, though, too, in reflection of what you were talking about with the initiation you're currently going through and how it's a product of, you know, you not having listened and so forth, that ultimately, I want to bring this down to its deepest roots.
Do it. Bring it. We're here for it.
Whether we're listening or we're not listening, it comes down to a deep part of us that wants to be loved, and that wants to love. That is the deepest motivation in everything that we do. And any time that we're not listening is the time that we're... I just lost.
It's okay.
Okay. I have to cut this out.
That's okay. Or not. This is just a part of it. Because you can also share as to
I have
why
a
that
brain
happens.
injury.
Yep. And it happens sometimes. And it's okay. And it's beautiful because it's a part of the process. And it's just a part of how you be.
It's how I be. It's how I do. Okay, that's right. Anytime we're not listening, it's because we haven't fully learned yet that we can get our need for love met by spirit, by what spirit tells us. Our ego sometimes is still learning that. That's what our spiritual evolution looks like. Our ego is telling us that we need to figure it out on our own. We need to find the love on our own. So we need to do all these things and defy what spirit is telling our intuition. But we learn as we listen and we surrender more and more that spirit always provides. Spirit gives us that love that we deeply, deeply seek, and that motivates us to do things sometimes in our lives that are destructive and not good for us. So why not try, as we move forward, to bypass doing those things, seeking to fulfill that need for love, and just go straight to spirit to fill that love. And if we don't, we're not enlightened beings.
No.
We're not enlightened.
No.
Like, I'm gonna do some stupid stuff tomorrow, guaranteed. Doing like straight along that lines, trying to seek love for whatever, through whatever external thing. But the more and more that we do otherwise, and we just get it from spirit, the more we learn that that's the way. That's the way to go.
That is so beautifully said.
Good. I'm glad it got out.
No, that was great. I was like, I've noticed sometimes you just gotta, it's right when we forget something, it's like, you just gotta distract a little bit and then you'll come right back in. It's okay.
And I'm like,
you can't focus in on it or else it's just gonna be lost forever. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that through. It's coming into that deep recognition of just like self-resourcing instead of externalizing it's a fight. It is a battle sometimes until the muscle gets built up, until we become stronger, right? But like, and you know, right now in this moment I'm definitely stronger than I was a few years ago, and yet that night that I called you, it was winning, right? Like I was deep in the fight and I was not winning at all. And
but you did.
But I did. Yeah. And it's okay because I'm here now, and also just like sharing in the process, whether it's sharing on social media or sharing with my friends, like it's all coming from my heart space, and like by me doing that in the ways that feel authentic, even though sometimes I judge myself for putting stuff out on social media. I'm like, no, this isn't coming from a space of like, I need external validation, because it's not for that. It's for me to look at and for me to realize that there's a message here that is for other people, regardless if there's a response or not, because it's not about that, but it's about that, like, this feels real and authentic to put out right now. This feels real and authentic to share with my friend right now, not coming from a space of like, I need you to fix my pain or to like deal with it, but just to be like, hey, I just need to share this, and this is my process, and this is how I'm showing up for myself, and this is what I'm choosing in the midst of this immense turmoil that I'm experiencing.
Oh, and what I'm hearing with that too, which is so important with all of this, is accepting the human experience for what it is. Not just accepting it, but just leaning into it and all that it entails. All of those uncomfortable emotions and feelings and thoughts. And with accepting that, also being okay with expressing it and sharing with others, this is what I am going through. This is what's happening for me. And the funny thing is, we're all going through it. We all are having the human experience. And for some reason, there is this notion that we need to hide it from each other, or we need to portray something different. But how powerful is it to accept it, to let it move through you, and to share it with others so that we know we're not alone, so that we know we're all connected, we're all there for each other, we all understand each other deeply. And whether others can receive that and support you in that or not is whether they feel comfortable with their human experience or not. And wherever they're at with that is okay. We're all just learning to embrace the human experience, I think.
Yeah. That is just so beautiful and ties so well into just my intention for this space, which is to be real about this real human experience that we're going through. And like, I'm here in the corner of my bedroom talking with one of my best friends. And, you know, it's not like I have big visions for this space, and whether or not that comes to fruition is not what this is about. Like, there is wisdom in us just being us and going through what we go through. And there's just so much here for all of us. And I was even, as you were speaking, I was just thinking about even where I came from, like the family that I came from, which came from, like, just hiding everything, like wouldn't speak to anything. There was no emotional openness, and would just like, I'm not even going to close to get into it right here, right now, but there's like big things that were just hidden and continue to be, and that continues to show up, which is why I don't bring a lot of that family into the realm that I'm creating and the life that I'm creating for myself right now, because the way that they're choosing things is not the way that I choose to be in this world. And there's no judgment in that way. There's just an allowance of how they be, and a distance compassion and loving from a distance. And the only thing that we can do with those types of relationships is to just, which the swamis told me when I was getting ready to leave yoga school, because I'm like, how do you take this out into the world? And I'm like, how do you be? And they're like, you just be. You just be. You be you. And if others want to pick up on that, they will. And if they don't, they don't. And that's okay. That's okay. But you just be you and move forward in a way that feels real and authentic and light, and just let that be. No more hiding. We are in an age of asking for help and owning what we're going through, and not feeling guilty, and just being real with each other, because we really do need each other. We are walking each other home. I'm
Truly.
looking into God right now. Like, you are God, I am God. Like, we are all God in human form.
Yes.
And we're doing this together, even if there's people that are challenging. There's different ways to be with that, but
Yes.
yeah.
When you just said that, something came to mind too, with looking into each other's eyes and seeing God. You can do that with everything and anything, and the darkness and the hardship and the going through it, that is also God. And it's funny because, when I take cold showers in the morning, and I'll be in the cold shower and I'm like, oh my God, I fucking hate this every day. Of course, I walk out of it feeling great, but I always tell myself this is also God when I'm amidst it. And I think that's also a part or a characteristic of these initiations, is not to separate God between the good moments and the bad moments, but to see God through everything that we're going through, to see that it's a part of the experience. And that's also what God wants for us, is to accept it all. It's like, accept the duality. When you accept the duality, you realize it's non-duality.
Beautiful.
I need some water.
Yeah. Well, this feels like such a beautiful moment to bring this to completion. Is there anything on your heart that you would like to share with the listeners as we begin to close this container?
First, I just want to say, in light spirit, we're going to dance. I'm so excited. Oh my God, I'm so excited to go move.
Yes.
I cannot wait.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay, so there's that. And on a more like heartfelt note, thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting me be here with you. It's such a form of trust to co-create with someone, to co-create art with someone. That's what this is. It's like art. And so I know you're trusting me to be a part of your baby. And I'm enjoying it thoroughly. I always enjoy our conversations. And also, I'm so proud of you. And I am happy for you, listener, that you get to experience her magic, because you are a magical fairy being.
Yes,
so
we
much
are.
love.
Thank you so much. It is my deepest honor and pleasure to have you here. And this will not be the only time. We know that for sure.
I'll be back, baby.
So many times.
You wait.
To have you as the first one on here is just, that is divinely spirit led for sure.
Definitely.
So with that, all you beautiful, incredible creatures out there, thank you so much for being here with us. For listening, for staying through this whole experience. And I am just sending out so much love and gratitude to your heart and to your world and to your space. And may only the highest vibrational light energy enter your world and uplift you as you move through your day, your week, and your life. Big blessings, dear ones.
So much love.